Good morning. Okay, checking out the volume real quick. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to turn down my elevator music. Okay, so I like playing my elevator music in the background, but it's a little distracting this morning for some odd reason. I guess because it's all, still, it's still dark outside where I'm at. I'm an early riser, um, somewhat military brat, I guess you could say, somewhat. um, but anyway, I just like, I like getting up early in the morning. Always have. All right, so it shows here that my screen is buffering a little bit, not for certain why. I'm trying to also adjust my mic. I think this one is louder. I'm trying to also adjust my mic. I think this one is louder. Yes, it's very much more louder because I want to make certain that you can hear me. Okay, so I noticed this story said that Virginia Attorney General sues town over police treatment of black people after Karen Nazario investigation. And I may have butchered that last name by accident. So I thought this was an interesting story because a lot of times we hear the bad things in news and it really makes people angry, but seldom do we hear the good spots, and this definitely seems like a good spot. Um, to commend this attorney general because he definitely could just um, bypass it like some people and pretend like they don't know anything about it. But he definitely did his job, and I'm sure he will get a lot of stars on his crown, spiritual stars on his crown. I used to hear that saying a lot. I haven't heard it in a while. But like your good Samaritans and so and your whatnots,
um, people would say, they're going to get a star on their crown in heaven. Because, most people want their rewards right now, today. And a lot of people are not patient to wait. The best comes last. The best comes to those who are patient. I just want to say with me, my father was real big on telling me stuff like hurry up and wait. Telling me about like being in the military, drafted in there at that, how it was like a big waiting process. And he used to tell me like that's kind of like what he remember his life. And I guess you could say my birthday is in this month, so I'm like the type of person that get happy when you think about the new year. And I know some people hate the new year because it's like, oh, they didn't get it right last year, so they kind of feel like they're not gonna get it right this year. Also, I got some of my medicinal medicine in, so that's always a plus. Um, I just want to hope everybody the best for this year, and hope people get to reach their um, what do you call it? Their New Year's resolution and everything. Now, I think the trick to it, if you want to see your New Year's resolution, is not to tell anybody what it's about, not even the category, because it's like what you do in the right hand, don't let the left hand know. Some kind of logic like that is like just knowing that what you pray for may be polar opposite of what somebody else may pray for you, so it's a good idea not to tell. But the first story I saw here says that more than a year ago, two police pepper sprayed a black and Latino U.S. Army officer. Virginia Attorney General Mark Karen has sued the town of Windsor, alleging its police department has discriminated against African Americans and violated their civil rights. Now, there's another YouTuber on here that I really like his content, because he's a good advocate for marginalized the marginalized, and a specific category that hits home to me. And so his channel is called King of Reads. I recall he mentioned that being in the military was like it does. He said that it did not help him one time when he was pulled over by police, and he felt like it was because he was African American that they treated him differently. I also remember my father telling me that when he was drafted in Vietnam, that he felt like they were training them differently than the other soldiers. And I remember I had a rebuttal. I was like, is it because it's like, I would assume like military training probably is the rough, especially for me because I don't like loud noises. I don't know why. Even though I was raised in the city, you're like gazillion flights up, so sirens and whatnot is not like the same difference when you're on the same level when you hear sirens. Those can be conducive to like health concerns for people with like already have health concerns. And so that's why I'm very like concerned about the elderly. But I've always been like that. I've always been the type of person that want to sit around intellectuals and stuff like that. I've never been like the party. I want to go party, party, hardy. I never been that party hardy girl. although I can be the party hardy girl, because I've worked all kinds of jobs in my life, like everything you name it from A to Z, I've done it. And I think like waitressing kind of reminds me of like a party hardy type of girl, because you have to be able to, communicate with people, and then on a level so that they leave you tips. And I always, um, I always brought home the bed and the bread and the bacon. So, but here it says that alleging this police department has discriminated against African Americans and violated their civil rights. So when I read, I'm gonna try to read fast because it could get drawn out to where it could go a long time. But I do have some other things I need to do today, so I'll probably only be in here for about an hour, so that I won't procrastinate, because I have a video that I want to create, and so it's a secret of what I'm trying to do here because I don't want to be jinxed, in so many words. But it's I think it's just very estrogenish, for lack of saying like emotional, because I know some people, you say emotions and they kind of want to fall out on the floor or something, like they get tired of hearing it or whatever triggers with that E word. It is, so back to the story. It is the first case brought under a new law that allows the state leading law enforcement officers to sue to stop systematic violations of Virginian rights. And this incident occurred almost 2 years ago. The suit was spurred by the incident in December 2020 when two Windsor Police Department officers pulled over Second Lieutenant Carson DeRozzo and repeatedly used pepper spray on him and pointed their guns at him, according to the release. While our investigations were spurred by erroneous treatment against Lieutenant Navarro, that we all saw body cam footage, we discovered that this incident was indicative of larger problems within the department. So, so I really appreciate that coming from them, because in actuality, I want to say that this is a huge step forward, considering in the wake of everything that's going on. You have the COVID, we have natural disasters, wars, rumors of wars. I'll show you guys what I mean by wars. And so here it says, our month-long investigation uncovered huge disparities in enforcement against African American drivers and troubling lack of policies and procedures to prevent discriminatory or unconstitutional policing. Now, I mean, I know this doesn't sound bright, but I know when I'm mistreated. However, I often just will, voice my concern, and then I just leave it like that. It's just, because if I want God to forgive me, I have to forgive other people. But that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to walk around and just let people violate me or anything like that, because they feel like they have a stronger voice than mine. But I just want to say, African American woman, I'm marginalized in the worst way, sort of. Um, so I have personal issues when it comes down to violating folks. You know, violation and whatnot, as most of us do, coming from childhoods where our parents sometimes take on the role of predators and they're not supposed to. And what I've learned through my walk of life is that it's not branded to just one demographic. Is human. We're humans, and scientifically we have to understand that there's no difference between one race and the other. So if you drop off some bones somewhere and they find it, when they say that we can use DNA and determine those bones' race, that's misleading and that's false. Okay, so there's a lot of things that I can vouch for and say that I grew up, hearing from educators that were not of my race, that I could look back and say, okay, they was misinformed, or there seems to be some form of some kind of program out there. And I think Biden is doing a good job. We as is a decent job. I i hate to say that I felt Trump in my lifetime, because I think, okay, I remember Ronald Reagan. Does that give my age off? Was that the first president that I ever remember? I think it was either Bush. It's not senior, but the father Bush, or Ronald Reagan. I forgot which one of those were first, and I know that's sad. I think it was Bush. Wasn't it Bush, then Reagan, and then Clinton, and then Bush, and then Obama, and then Trump, and now Biden? Wasn't it something like that? I can look it up, but I don't want to be a complete square on here this morning. But I know we probably have some history buff people that may watch this replay, or step in before I go off or leave. But I want to do this like early in the morning, so that we can kind of just be educated on what's going on out there, so we'll know. So that's why I just want to read through here real quick. But this saying that there was a lawsuit, but just to finish my train of thought, I think that is great that we're having open dialogue. All I can say is that my life is hard. I have never had an easy life. An easy life for me would be a boring life. I mean, one to where I don't have to worry about, oh, I need to call the police, or oh, I need to make sure I'm loaded and locked around here, and and stuff like that. So that's for me is great right there. Whereas some people, a good life would be having food on the table every night. So it's different strokes for different folks. And so that's why having a dialogue of saying, okay, look, we saw the footage, and this is evidently not what we living for as Americans, and as a Christian nation, considering how the word says a man that doesn't take care of his family is less than an infidel. Why could the states, or how can the states spend so much time and dedication to other foreign lands when the home is not being taken care of? And so it was, when I was growing up, it was, well, they're worse off than we are. And they are. From my research, which we can look at a little bit now, but from my research, it is like they are really bad off over there. But it has nothing to do with handouts. You can't give them handouts because they of a different religion than the states. So that means that for example, let me show you this clip that I have about, excuse me, I think I'm getting older, so I'll be making like humming noises or something. I don't I pick it up from time to time. I have an article that I wanted to share. Mm. Hmm. Oddly enough, it doesn't look like I kept that one. Um, Let me see if I can find it really quick. I gotta turn on the light. No, I just gave everything up. Um, I'm shocked to see I didn't. You know where I saved it somewhere, but I didn't save it where I supposed to have. It's called. Um, yeah, China. Let me see if I can do it like that. Okay, did y'all watch this? Oh, you know what? Um, Let me see how I can put this on that other tab. I don't know why I didn't save this. I most want to put the link in the chat. Where we at? We're over here. Did y'all watch this? It's 2 weeks old.
If you're trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This sounds kind of backwards, right? Well, believe me, it's actually true.
The truth is that Hollywood's elite actors can get ripped.
Whoever controls the Indian Ocean will dominate Asia. The destiny of the world will be decided on its.
Now, this is a 10-minute video, so I'll probably play it twice. But some people are not real good with accents. I was raised around a lot of different accents, so it doesn't bother me. But we can like just. They like to talk fast. I don't mean like to categorize them because I'm decent with folks. Um, But yeah, I just slowed it down so it should make it easier to understand her.
Waters. Powerful words, not mine. They're often attributed to maritime strategist Alfred Mahan. He's said to have said this more than a century ago. The attribution is contested, but the content is not. And I'm not here to talk about who spoke these words. I'm here to tell you that this prophecy is about to come true. The war to control the Indian Ocean has begun. India is being challenged in its own backyard by the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army. They have a plan. Do we have a counter? Hello?
I don't know if y'all heard that. Let me put the subtitles in. Because this is still buffering, so I can't see like what it's doing. Oh, so I don't think it's gonna let me do the subtitles. Don't y'all hate it when they do that? We need some subtitles because uh, China is already starting a war over there in India. Do we so this is need to know information, and this is old, meaning like it's been going on. So it's out there, like they say, if you want to hide something, put it in a book.
Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay, and today we'll talk about China's designs to dominate the Indian Ocean. This is the region we're talking about. The Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean of the world. It covers nearly 20% of the water surface. Quick question. Why does China want to dominate this region? Because its economy depends on it. China needs the Indian Ocean to protect its economic interests. Consider these numbers. Around 80% of China's oil is imported through two sea routes, the Indian Ocean and the Malacca Strait. And as of today, neither is in Chinese control. What about trade? 95% of China's trade with three partners passes through the Indian Ocean. These partners are West Asia, Africa, and Europe. The numbers tell the story. China needs the Indian Ocean. So what do? Build ports and a naval presence. And I'm not talking about deploying a few ships here and there. I'm talking about military bases. China wants its own military bases in the Indian Ocean. It is said to be seriously deliberating this idea. Last year, the United States Department of Defense put out an assessment. It says Beijing has prepared a list of potential candidates, countries that China wants to target for bases. In the Bay of Bengal, there are three possible targets: Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. Then on the western side of India, China is considering these countries: Namibia, Seychelles, Tanzania, and the UAE. In fact, in the UAE, China was trying to build a military base secretly. The Americans caught them. We're talking about the Khalifa port. The Chinese were building a facility here, a multi-story building that could double up as a military base. This was at a terminal built and operated by the Chinese shipping giant COSCO. How were the Chinese doing it secretly? The UAE claims it had no idea. They did not know about China's military plan, at least that's what they say. But the Americans insist they have intel. So they put pressure, and work at this facility had to be stopped. But this is a one-off. This time the US had its way. It won't be the same every time and everywhere. China still has many other options, and nothing matches this one, Pakistan. If China wants a military base in the Indian Ocean, it will most probably be in Pakistan, because in Pakistan, China can dictate terms, claim the best of everything. There are obvious advantages. One, the PLA is familiar with the Karachi port. Their ships have been visiting Karachi for decades. The first port call happened way back in 1985. A Chinese destroyer and ship docked at the Karachi port more than 35 years ago. And since then, the Chinese Navy has regularly used this facility to replenish their supplies. In recent years, the navies of Pakistan and China have ramped up their drills in Karachi. In 2020, they had an exercise called Sea Guardians. For this drill, the PLA deployed 5 Chinese warships, 2 helicopters, and more than 60 special operations soldiers to Pakistan. And they plan to take it further. China and Pakistan have recently unveiled a plan to develop the Karachi coast. Long story short, the Chinese definitely have their eye on the city, Karachi. But Karachi is not their only option. The second one is Gwadar. And ever since this port was announced, there have been questions. What will it be used for? China says Gwadar is purely for trade. I do not know anyone who believes that. Also, trade from Gwadar does not make sense. Because look at the location. Look at where China is building this port. This is where Gwadar is. This is one of the most backward regions of Pakistan. There is a severe water shortage here, and that makes any economic activity difficult. What about transporting oil? Very costly. China would end up spending more than $8 per barrel to transport oil from Gwadar. Now look at the distance. Moving cargo from Gwadar to China is a logistical nightmare. Containers must first traverse the entire length of Pakistan before crossing into China. That's 1800 kilometers. So how does Gwadar make sense for trade? It doesn't. China would lose money here, and yet China is spending more than $1 billion to build this port. What explains this? Gwadar is not for Chinese trade, it is for the Chinese military. As simple as that. Gwadar can serve as a military base for the PLA, if not immediately, then certainly in the future. This port can easily be repurposed for the Chinese military. It can support Chinese amphibious assault ships, fleet replenishment ships, and depending on conditions, even aircraft carriers. And this is why China is keen on Gwadar. It has strategic potential. You base the Chinese Navy here and you can operate in and around the Persian Gulf. What will the Navy do? Help commercial vessels in case of a conflict and control the waters. Exert Chinese military pressure in the Indian Ocean region. This is the kind of potential that Gwadar holds for China. Now, to be fair, the PLA has not made use of the Gwadar port yet. But that doesn't mean they can't. One PLA officer was once asked about Gwadar. Here is what he said. The food is already on the plate. We'll eat it whenever we want to. Gwadar is the perfect example of China's dual-use strategy. Build a port on the pretext of commerce and then equip it for the People's Liberation Army. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, China is laying a network of such ports, dual-use ports. These ports can be leveraged for military needs whenever needed. In 2016, Beijing gave a legal foundation to this strategy. They introduced what is called the National Defense Transport Law. It has some very specific provisions for Chinese state-owned companies. By law, these companies are now required to design overseas infrastructure projects as per military standards. So that's what they're doing. Building commercial ports for the military. I'll give you some examples. Ports built by China in the Indian Ocean region, Hambantota in Sri Lanka. It is now under Chinese control, you know that. China Merchants Port has a 99-year lease for Hambantota. It was built for trade, but Hambantota's existing berthing spaces can already accommodate surface combatants of the Chinese Navy. This includes corvette-class vessels. Same with Myanmar's Chao Phraya port. Experts believe this facility is strategically significant for the PLA. It could be a valuable logistics support point. The Chinese Navy already conducts port calls in Myanmar. So this port, the Chao Phraya, could later on serve as a resupply stop. So we have Gwadar in Pakistan, we have Hambantota in Sri Lanka, and we have Chao Phraya in Myanmar. Let's zoom out on the map. What do you see now? This is the string of pearls, China's old project to choke India on the high seas. Beijing is executing this plan, but with a new playbook. The term military base is very controversial, and China knows that. It attracts attention, it triggers a lot of questions. So China has started building ports in the name of trade, basically dual-purpose facilities. Unfortunately for Beijing, the world is not blind. It sees these sinister designs, and it has begun protesting. Case in point, Gwadar again. For 1 month, thousands of people were on the streets of Gwadar They know what's cooking inside the port. They know that Gwadar is being turned into a garrison. This was the biggest protest that Balochistan had ever witnessed. But China refused to even acknowledge these protests. Beijing called it fake news. The people of Gwadar exposed the ulterior motives of Beijing. China wants to weaponize the Belt and Road Initiative and dominate the Indian Ocean. It is time that India acknowledged this threat and built up its navy, because its rise as the next economic superpower depends on a free and open Indian Ocean.
Okay. So that's just after the video went off, I was talking for the longest, but the mic was muted. So I remember I did the fish thing. So I read about the fish. There was fish raining in Texas, and they said it's normal because of it was some kind of water sprout, and the fish was like at the right weight to where it kind of just naturally did that, but it wasn't like actually raining. And then we went to the Facebook post, and then over here we was talking about this woman in Florence, South Carolina, that stepped on a rusty nail, like back in 2015, and sued Walmart, and they're getting 10 million. And right here it says the jury sent a message to Walmart that if you come to Florence County and injure one of their, they will make sure that person is taken care of. I thought that was neat. Now, I was over here with the salon part, so I could save you a lot of the gruesome details. But this salon owner, the lady got 10 million, but she did actually had to get her foot, her leg, most of her right leg cut off, amputated. She won 10 million. Now this lady is another lady in Florida. The salon has closed down, so I don't know where at in Florida. But she was awarded 1.75 million from a Tampa nail salon because she got a pedicure and ended up having to get her amputation to her limb. Now it says an employee cut her foot. It got worse, because she said she had a severe parental artery disease, and she alleged that the employee was using dirty towels and equipment, and she went leg amputation below her knee, and she reached agreement with the salon settlement. She was stunned, shocked, crying, and giddy all at the same time. The infection brought years of hardship, including the loss of her home and ability to walk. Spellman subsequently became dependent on others and now lives with relatives. So this lady, I hope everybody has something to be grateful for today. I pulled this one up because she hit a 16-year-old and then tried to cover the body up. And let's double check and see if there's any other. What's this about? It says Massachusetts state body finds probable cause that dog humping police call that spawned viral moment was prompt by racial discrimination. A black man who caused a spiral stir years after feminine encounter with a white woman in a dog park has been initially vindicated by state body. Okay, I thought it said something else. Not that that's okay or anything like that. Oh, Um, a California mom allegedly abandoned her child as she fled from police concerned about drinking inside a minivan on New Year's Eve. Pennsylvania teen charged with homicide after the toddler was reportedly squeezed to death. A man in Pennsylvania was arrested this week after police say he was responsible for the brutal death of a 2-year-old girl. Tyrell Morgan, 19, was taken into custody by authorities on Friday and charged with criminal homicide and endangering the welfare of a child for allegedly killing Brielle Olivia Swifton. According to the Allegheny, I know that's not how you pronounced it, but I tried. County Police Department officers with Stowe County Police Department on December 30th responding to a 911 call about a toddler who was not breathing at a residence located on Woodward Avenue. Upon arriving at the scene, the responders quickly found a baby who was reportedly unresponsive. Officers and personnel with emergency medical services attempted to resuscitate the baby before rushing her to the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Children's Hospital. Despite the efforts of medical staff, the child succumbed to her injury shortly after arriving at the pediatrician facility, and she was pronounced dead. While authorities have not yet released the child's cause of death, the Allegheny County Medical Examiner reportedly ruled that the manner of death was a homicide. Now, it says authorities issued an arrest warrant for the 19-year-old less than 24 hours after the death. It says that the child's death, after it was reportedly revealed that he was lone adult watching the child. So that's why he's going to jail. I'm pretty sure he has a reason why he shouldn't, but he was the adult and he was alone with the child. Now, we don't know if it was other people in the home or whatnot. Now, this is, I'll actually watch this special with this because the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict, she was found guilty, so they have to do the sentence. Because she was helping him recruit the girls, and they were saying that if you look into her past, although she came from the elites, she came from a different kind of elites that were about the mess, in so many words. I have to dig up the clip on that where it shows that man became rich by blackmailing people. He would cause men to have relations with minors and then would use that against them in order to come out on top, which he did. See, I don't know if y'all can hear my cat, but let me put on the elevator music. I'll be right back. You know what? I thought I was on mute this time, but I was just like giggly and whatnot. um, so with this one, I was wondering if, excuse me, that's a big miss. I'm just messing up a little bit today. I'm sorry. Um, okay. Let's look at the newspapers. I think that was the only thing I had for as articles. There's been some people who have been saying derogatory rhetoric as it pertains to domestic violence. Um, but I will say that we all know that they're saying these things for capitalistic reasons. And so what I like is how the LGBTQ community, excuse me if I butchered that, how they have like a campaign, or it's like a slogan, or like some words that they say when people start saying that. So I came up with something close to it. I'm still working on it. And so this is like my response to people who like to, I guess, domestic violence bait. Because you hear people race bait, but you've never heard of people domestic violence baiting. Because it's terrible that for a woman to need money that bad, that, you know, going a day without a meal or getting your nails done or whatever is risk. It's a risk that you're willing to take for other people to, for the people who are on the down end of that. So this is what I say to that. Stop fighting us marginalized because we can't help how we were born, because we can't help how we're hated on and by who. Rather it's a parent, a spouse, a child, a beast, or critter, or that person looks exactly like us. We are human and deserve the same amount of respect like any man. I'm born a black woman. I am marginalized. And y'all know that black women are more likely to die due to domestic violence, AIDS, HIV, and much higher health problems due to stress related to inequalities. So I'm still working on it, but that's something like that. I is what I would say to people who are baiting for domestic violence. I know it's a better word for that. It's you know, the book of Ephesians, and I had came across this. You're always gonna have the people who wanna point fingers. See, I don't mind finger pointing because it only helps me build up my stamina. That's when you start seeing people do stuff that's extraneous to do, but they look like they just doing it in their sleep. It's because they learn how to dig deep into themselves. Like when people start saying stuff that's hateful, they kind of dig into themselves and find good root. But Ephesians 5:11 through 13 says, take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. It is shameful even to talk about the things that ungodly people do in secret. But their evil intentions will be exposed when the light shines on them. people, we repeat the history because we don't evidently for the love of money. You can't love God and mammon. You can't love God and love idols at the same time. And money, you can't treasure it, because what happens is that it can moth. The word tells us don't treasure things that can rust, rot. Like money, you could put it up somewhere. It could like rot, like paper. Or thieves can steal. Don't treasure those things. Somebody could come in and steal your money. Or like you see how people get sued. You never know, somebody could come and sue the bejesus out of you one day. And then what? You'll have all that money, and then just like that, like it's a Monopoly game, and you can't go past, go, and you gotta, stuff like that. So, I mean, yes, of course, be happy that you have it. There's only a select few people that have a lot of change like that. But it shouldn't change. It shouldn't change that we are humans and we should deal with each other as so. Now, I understand on the flip side of the scheme of things, some people say, well, this is how they want to play the game of life, by igniting hurt, for people. Is not a good way to play. And as adults, we have to be role models for our children. And I don't know why it is that people who do evil stuff, they seem to be successful. But that's not my theory. Other people have thought so as well, and there's been books written about it. Do you have to be corrupt in order to be rich? And there are more people that are corrupt than not that are rich. So think about it. I think it's terrible to say I don't know what goes into someone's mind to bait domestic violence. And I don't know what's the term to use for that, other than it's like they're garnering hate groups. Because when you talk about domestic violence, men numbers are very low on that. So you can almost say that individual is a part of a hate group. There's so many different avenues of going down. Like, this individual was not just placed on planet by themselves, meaning that they go somewhere in a little hole, and everybody that is around them influence they talk. And I'm pretty sure that individual probably knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that experienced domestic violence firsthand. I would hate to say this, but being a black woman in America, we have to sit down and ask them, have you ever experienced domestic violence? Sure, we could ask the majority of women, and we should probably get a good mixture of responses, but it'd probably be high. But if we ask marginalized women, have you ever experienced domestic violence? I'm pretty sure the individual who's garnering gender hate, starting gender hate wars or violence towards women, because men do not make up domestic violence cases. And the victimization of the domestic violence women it makes it to where it's hard to speak. It's triggering, and it's causing people to have trauma-induced seizures. Just so you can sell another bag of weave that we don't need. We don't need this fake stuff on our heads. So shame on you. But you have no shame. You have no dignity. You have no life. Nobody wants you. So you have to come out and you have to say nasty things that you want, as if you want somebody to experience gender-based hate. Now, we would be only fooling ourselves if we sit here and say this sister don't need help. Nobody with you think that just because somebody has money that means that now they some kind of way also bought them a brain, but they don't, because you can't buy a brain. You see this fentanyl? See, most people thought they could get on point by doing a little blow now and then they could stay focused. But see, now you got fentanyl. So now you can't stay focused and you just off your task. So now you got to make some cash and you just want to throw women under the boat. And it's ironic because you're a woman, so it gets, for me, it kind of goes along it makes me feel that whatever man is in her life, he could be abusing her to the point that she's saying something that ignorant, or she really needs to be single, like single needs to be tattooed across her forehead if she believes that in order for someone to love another person, that they're supposed to ignite acts of violence towards the weaker vessel. The word tells us that we're supposed to protect the weaker vessels. And also it tells us that us older women, like, we supposed to be the beacon of modesty and like all things wholesome. But we don't want to do that. We just want to look cute all the time, like we're trying so hard and like we're so darn thirsty all the time. When and then even to have, how you have money and you still look thirsty, how you still look thirsty with money is mind-boggling to me. And then it comes off like it's unicorn hunting. It's like, don't bring me around these women that want a man so bad, or whatever the heck it is that she thinking she wants so bad of, because I can't figure it out. I've never been around a man in my entire life that I felt like I need to go find other women for him to be with so he could be cool with me. That's mind-boggling. But that's just what this lady right here was doing. Miss Gilline, however you say her name, Miss Maxwell. She knows a lot about fiending for money, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I hate to have so much emphasis in my voice. It's just that it's mind-boggling to hear women gender violence bait. Oh, however you say that. Bait and violence towards women. That definitely makes her a part of she's an incel. Like she's an incel, and incels are men. who have taken the red pill and checked out a reality, well, actually checked in reality, and realized they can never have a woman. They'll never. Nobody wants you. You learn how to treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, it's awkward that you know, this person has a parent that might have had her too young. And unfortunately, we are around predators instead of like parenting. And we, you know, are indoctrinated with, you know, so definitely, she's definitely needs to talk to a psychiatrist. But there's not one out there that can help people with that. This is all about the bag. So it means like in order to get people to stop doing stuff like that, they say there's only one way of doing it. You gotta hit them where it hurt. And they say that's in the pocketbook. Because that's the only way people who, you know, this is gender-based violence. That's gender-based violence. For me, it seems like that young lady she got a small case of Miss Gilstein Maxwell. And that's called, some people call that unicorn hunting. And I hope the music is not distracting you. I just have to have something to calm my nerves a little extra. Because, you know, although it's winter time, you know, the word says don't get drunk with your wine. So it's okay to drink. Because it does have some, I believe it says like 1 cup of red wine a night per day is good for your arteries. But, you know, that's for somebody that's healthy and got all their vitamins, nutrients, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's okay. But I say, especially during the wintertime, it helps keep you warm. But we've been fortunate enough to still have warm weather. And we don't have to worry about the weather bill. You know, the bills increasing due to the weather at the moment. But yeah, I don't, you know, I look at it like that. When women say stuff like, when women show you that they're part of incels are an organization of men that don't even have to necessarily be in the membership, like paying dues or whatever, or call themselves a part of the membership. But what they do is they're saying that they're involuntarily celibate, right? Meaning they virgins, they don't like it. But that is nobody's problem. Like I said, I've never been around a man that I'm like he's with, like, you know what I'm saying? We're here, and he want me to do something other than just me and him. I gotta go find somebody else. I've never been interested in a guy like that. And the only reason why people could say something like that is because of domestic violence, or what they call grooming. That's actually considered grooming. And that's why I wonder, is this a cry for help for her? You know, someone abusing her. You know, we don't go there and ask that. As a people, we need to start from the basics. You know, we pull somebody to the carpet. Let's go ahead and start back to the basics and ask this sister, you know, is someone hurting her? Is she okay? Does she need to get away from this dude? From, you know, whoever's harming her? You know? Because just because people have money don't mean that they don't get stalked and harassed. And it's sad. It's sad because you would really believe that your money could stop people from stalking and harassing you. But it don't. However, it should allow them to have more of a time for themselves. I mean, like if you don't want to be stalked or harassed, but you gotta be a social bug, yeah, it's not gonna help. It's not gonna help that somebody is stalking or harassing you. But to get them to start um, harassing and stalking other folks and gardening or bargaining almost like you bargaining. And then the thing is, it's like, why even have a conversation like that with someone that obviously is hurting somewhere? That, I mean, goodness gracious, I know people want to have money, and maybe that's all this is. Maybe this woman came from a beautiful background, had everything your hearts can desire, and just disputing or displaying this baby syndrome to where they had everything they supposed to have through life. And when they get become an adult and they realize and they take their own red pill and realize that, you know, this is not what life is about. People are not going to treat you like mom. And then in order for them to get attention, fame, and power, they get into picking and instigating horrible fights. You know, gender-based violence. She's a part of a hate group. If this is not her crying for help and saying she needs to get from around somebody that's trying to make her essentially unicorn hunt or go find other vulnerable women or marginalized women to enslave and human traffic, if that's not what it is, then she's definitely should be hit up with some type of charges as it pertains to gender-based. The reason being is because of her influence. Now it's different. It was like Pookie, Ray Ray, and Keisha talking all that jazz on a live. You know, that's different. But when you got like all this kind of status and stuff. You seen what happened over there at the get together, which is supposed to have been a get together, and then they turn it into this hot mess. You know, these people, these kids nowadays, I don't know. We definitely need to sit down and talk. I think we don't talk. Maybe that's the problem. You know, I can admit where I did something wrong, and if I've ever offended anybody, I definitely apologize. But let's not get to the point to where we have to be so tasteless in order to obtain the wealth that we require. How can we fix a problem by causing 3 other problems in the process? It doesn't make sense. We got to look at this as a whole, not just what I need today, but what do we need the next day and the next year and the next decade and the next century. You got to look at it and as the big picture. You know, what good does it do you to have 50 seconds of fame and then be ashamed of your name? Be ashamed of who you have become. I don't want to need no security to walk around the streets because I just said something that was just so disrespectful. You know, technically telling people to beat women is what her dialect went along. And you know, yeah, I think she definitely needs to have a sit down and, you know, tell her, look, you can't talk like this. If you do that, we're going to push this lawsuit against you like that. And then if she try to get, you know, gangster with it, then let her get her little RICO charge or whatever on. Because it's just the fact that people keep on going unchecked. Who gets to walk around here unchecked like that? And I know even though the sister has some kind of money or some kind of bread or whatever, there's people out here who has more money than you. There's always going to be somebody out here who has more money than you that don't like what you're doing. When you're hurting people is there ever a reason to hurt somebody? When you have to defend your life, like when you for self-defense, I hope. But other than that, and then you need to get in front of, you still have to get in front of a jury and prove it. But I think naturally we supposed to have to sit down and kind of like, you know, Ayana the moment, and then kumbaya, and then take it to a lawsuit or something, because that's just terrible.